On Thanksgiving night in Plymouth, Massachusetts, Sheriff Eric pays a visit to Mitch and his wife Amanda, bringing dessert with him. Just before dinner, Mitch unfortunately informs everyone that he's been called in to work. It's revealed that he's the manager of Riot Mart. Meanwhile, Thomas Wright's family is also celebrating Thanksgiving. He is the owner of Riot Mart. Thanks to his fiancée Kathleen's suggestion, they've decided to kick off early Black Friday sales tonight. Thomas's daughter Jessica and her boyfriend Bobby, a promising baseball player, are also present. After dinner, they join their friends Evan, Gabby, Scuba, and Yulia to go see a movie. Outside of Riot Mart, a large crowd gathers, eagerly anticipating the Black Friday sale. Inside, associates are getting ready, while security guards are attempting to calm down the unruly customers. Evan decides to purchase a new phone and quickly stops at Riot Mart. Since Jessica has access inside, the teens enter the store before it opens. Sheriff Eric and Amanda arrive and deliver food to her husband Mitch. The massive crowd is growing restless. One of them, Lonnie, spots Jessica and her group inside the store and becomes furious. He instigates a riot and demands to be let inside. They push down the railing and attempt to rush into the store. The security guard Manny panics and runs away. The pressure against the glass door builds up, and the security guard, Doug, is unable to open it as he's too scared and his hands are shaking. Suddenly, the glass shatters, and a stampede of customers bursts in. One customer gets his neck slashed by broken glass, and Doug is trampled. Inside the store, chaos erupts as people fight each other to grab items. Amanda is knocked over and struck in the head by a shopping cart. Her hair gets caught in the wheel, pulling off a piece of her scalp and causing her death. Meanwhile, Jessica and her friend Bobby notice that Doug is still alive, and Bobby attempts to help him but ends up with his arm broken after someone stomps on it. Evan is recording the whole incident and sees this as something that will go viral online. Mitch finds his wife's body and is heartbroken, and this disaster finally comes to an end after Sheriff Eric fires a warning shot into the ceiling. 1 year later, Riot Mart is gearing up for another Black Friday sale, despite protests from many residents. Mitch, who lost his wife, is now also against Thomas after the incident was deemed an accident as the security cameras happened to be malfunctioning that night. On the other hand, Thomas is attempting to rehabilitate his image through charity works. Bobby has ended his career as a pitcher, and no one has heard from him since. At a local diner, the waitress, Lizzie, who was the one pushing the cart that killed Amanda, hands Sheriff Eric and the new deputy a John Carver mask. As the deputy puts it on, he notes that John Carver is everyone's favorite, as he is the first governor of New Plymouth Colony, and people will be wearing them for the holiday. Later, Thomas and Sheriff Eric discover that John Carver's historic residence, where they plan to shoot a Riot Mart commercial, has been vandalized, and the axe on the wall is missing. Afterwards, Jessica and her friends gather at the diner. Jessica spots Bobby, who has left town since last Thanksgiving. They are then tagged in a social media post of a Thanksgiving table from an account named The John Carver. With the description, the table is set, but they find it strange and don't pay much attention to it. Jessica is now dating Ryan, who is trying to win over the group with tickets to a game. Just then, Jessica sees a man wearing a mask standing outside watching them, but he disappears the next moment. At night, as the diner closes, Lizzie is about to leave for the day when suddenly a man, wearing a John Carver mask, attacks her. He grabs her head and dunks it into the water before sticking her face to the freezer door. Lizzie tears her skin off to escape and hides in the office. She can't use Face ID to unlock her phone due to the blood on her face. From the monitor, she doesn't see the killer, so she rushes out and attempts to retreat to her car but can't find the keys. The killer has taken her keys and is waiting for her in the car, trying to run her over. She tries to hop inside a dumpster, but the car crashes into it, causing the lid to fall and cutting her in half. The next day, Lizzie's lower half is found atop the Riot Mart sign. Meanwhile, at school, Evan is terrified after seeing the disturbing post that John Carver has tagged him and his friends in. At this point, Jessica realizes their names were on the table, indicating that the seats were reserved for them. Sheriff Eric begins the investigation, and they only find a piece of brick. When they review the diner's surveillance footage, they discover the killer wearing a John Carver mask. The police ask the group to come to the station for questioning. Sheriff Eric asks Jessica to identify anyone involved that night at Riot Mart, as they suspect they might be the killer's targets. During their private conversation, he urges Jessica to share any clues from that night, hinting at the security footage, but Jessica doesn't say anything. As she leaves the station, she sees Bobby, who has returned to help with his uncle's work. They catch up as they take a walk. Jessica has been feeling guilty about what happened last Thanksgiving and reveals that Kathleen deleted the security footage out of fear of bad publicity and lawsuits. but there is a backup in her father's office. She plans to check what's on it. Ryan arrives and takes Jessica away as Sheriff Eric brings Bobby in for questioning. Manny, the security guard who fled when the riot began, is preparing to go on vacation, hoping to escape the ongoing murders. He places his passport on the table, but when he turns around, it's gone. After searching everywhere, he sees a John Carver mask on the couch. He grabs a bat and tries to act tough, but it doesn't work when the killer stabs him in the stomach with an electric mixer and wraps a garrote around his neck to decapitate him. After putting the head in a bag, the killer feeds the cat before leaving. The killer then places Manny's head on the table, along with Lizzie's upper body. The next morning, Jessica notices that the killer has tagged her in the photo. Later, she retrieves footage from her father's computer and takes it over to Sheriff Eric. Bobby reveals that Lonnie was the one who started the riot, and his cheerleader girlfriend Amy was with him. Lonnie and Amy go to a quiet gym, where the cheerleader girlfriend shows him some new moves on a trampoline. Just as it gets exciting, the killer sneaks up behind Lonnie and twists his neck backward. Unaware of what's happening, Amy keeps jumping when the killer sticks a knife from under the trampoline, causing her foot to get stabbed before she falls and is fatally stabbed to death. After numerous murders, Sheriff Eric cancels the school football game and advises Jessica and Gabby to stick together. Jessica waits for Gabby and Evan while they go to change, but the couple is knocked out by the killer. Later, Jessica receives a text from Gabby asking her to come over. She goes to check on her friends, but only finds Gabby's phone. The killer shows up and attacks her. Jessica immediately runs away and hides in a room. Soon, the killer enters, swinging his axe with the intent to kill her, while she hides among several mannequin heads. As the killer gets closer, Jessica tries to reach for a pair of scissors, but accidentally knocks over a bottle of hairspray. The killer hears the noise and finds her, but she sprays his face with the hairspray before running out. Sheriff Eric asks Jessica about the killer, but she doesn't have any useful clues. At night, Scuba and Jessica find a local drug dealer McCarty to get a gun for protection. Meanwhile, Yulia's father attempts to relocate her to Florida. As they pack, a security guard watches over them, but the killer manages to infiltrate their house and incapacitate the guard and Yulia's father with a tranquilizer gun before going after Yulia. Unaware of the danger, Yulia is video chatting with her boyfriend Scuba and Jessica. They witness her being attacked by the killer and rush to her house. They find the killer holding a knife at Yulia's neck. Scuba tries to shoot him with the gun, but realizes the safety is still on. The killer then turns on a buzzsaw, throwing Yulia onto it and disemboweling her. Aware that the killer is targeting them, the group sees the Thanksgiving parade as their opportunity to catch him. They decide to set up a trap using Jessica and her family as bait. On the day of the Thanksgiving parade, Jessica is highly nervous seeing many people wearing John Carver masks. Unexpectedly, the killer shows up disguised as a clown, throwing a smoke bomb into the crowd and causing chaos. Jessica's family and Scuba attempt to escape in a police car, but the officer is incapacitated with a tranquilizer dart. The clown then throws a flashbang into the car and tranquilizes them before driving off. After some time, Kathleen wakes up to find the killer preparing her like a turkey. When the killer goes to preheat the oven, Kathleen attempts to escape, but the killer throws his garden fork at her and drags her back to the house. He then puts her in the oven, where she is roasted alive. Jessica regains consciousness to find herself and the others tied to chairs. The killer enters and announces that Thanksgiving dinner is about to begin, then places Kathleen's roasted body on the table, horrifying everyone. He begins live streaming and bludgeons Evan to death. Even more twisted, he carves pieces of Kathleen's cooked flesh and tries to force Thomas to eat it. Meanwhile, Jessica uses a ring she got from McCarty to free herself, and she passes it to Scuba, who also frees himself and attacks the killer. They manage to escape with the killer chasing after them. The two realize they are in John Carver's house. The killer swings his axe at Scuba before going after Jessica, who runs through the woods and into the town hall, where she finds Sheriff Eric lying unconscious in the middle of road. Suddenly she hears a noise, grabs the sheriff's gun and follows the sound to find someone wearing a John Carver mask, but is shocked to discover it's Bobby. Sheriff Eric arrives and sends Jessica outside. She then hears 3 gunshots from inside, and Eric comes out and says he shot at Bobby but he escaped. The police arrive and inform Jessica that her dad and Gabby are safe. When Eric is alone with Jessica, she notices the same bramble debris from the wood stuck to his shoes. Realizing that Sheriff Eric is the killer, he also realizes he's been exposed and admits to it. He confesses that he drugged Bobby and dressed him as the killer to frame him, but Bobby managed to knock him unconscious. As for his motive for committing so many murders, it's because he was having an affair with Amanda, who was pregnant with his baby and was going to leave Mitch for him. Jessica then reveals she has been live streaming his confession. Enraged, Eric attacks her. Bobby shows up and throws a hammer at him, saving her. The two run away with Eric in pursuit. Bobby throws something to distract him in another direction while they make a run for it. Jessica turns on a tank of flammable gas, which starts inflating a large turkey parrot balloon. They attempt to escape in Bobby's tow truck, but Eric has already hooked it to a support beam to prevent them from leaving and approaches them with an axe. Jessica uses a musket to shoot the balloon, causing a massive explosion that engulfs Eric in flames. In the aftermath, Bobby is taken away in an ambulance, and Jessica is reunited with her friends. The police believe that Eric was definitely killed in the explosion, since all they found was ash. Jessica still feels uneasy, thinking it might be him, as she sees a masked firefighter holding an axe walking out.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our channel for more videos.